welcome back to another edition of Heart to Hearties. We're the official fan after show and podcast. You can find us on all those podcasting platforms now too. Welcome back. I'm Jeanette from Michigan.
And I'm Marg from California.
And today we're super excited to welcome some of our OGs. And to start us off, we've got the one and only Loretta Walsh, who plays Florence. Welcome.
Yay. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So good to see you.
Nice to see you.
First of all, how have you been? It's been a while since we've chatted. How's life in the off season treating you?
Life is good.
Yeah.
It's good. I'm so lucky to have been on When Calls the Heart for 12 seasons and have, been there from the very first episode in the first season. And so it's such an extraordinary journey to be on. And I'm so grateful to be a part of not only the show, but the community. And a big part of what is delightful is in the off season, I usually travel. And as you can hear, I'm from Australia. So I've been taking trips to go and see my family.
Oh,
So that has just been such a lovely, lovely thing to do with my off time. And then some other little projects as well. I know, Jeanette, I run a little theater company. And so we've been doing workshops and activities and fundraising and all kinds of things for that too. So, but I'm great. And I'm just have my fingers so crossed for season 13. I'm not ready to say goodbye to Florence or When Calls the Heart, any of it. So I'm very hopeful for that.
And how's the little one? She's probably not so little anymore.
She's so good. She's so funny,
Yeah.
and just a real person, right? But she's a nice little sidekick nowadays, and growing up and learning and making mistakes and just like Florence. And but no,
did she travel with you?
Definitely.
Okay, good. Awesome.
Very good traveler.
Oh, wow. Good. Amazing. That's a long haul trip.
Yeah, that's a long trip. Yeah.
So go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, want Hearties to know that we have Loretta for a limited time today. So we're going to dive in first with you. And our questions might be Florence heavy at the beginning, but we'll dive into Florence and then Johannah will join us at some point. So we're excited for that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So we started off the season with Flo expressing considerable distaste for comic books. Talk to us about filming those scenes. What struck you about shooting first in the mercantile with the kids and then later in the radio show with Rosemary trying to pin you down?
Oh my goodness, this was so fun. I loved the storyline because I just thought, oh yeah, some good old-fashioned cranky Florence, because she's such a fun character because she's very persnickety in some ways, but she's also really good friends with everybody too. She's not so persnickety that people go, oh gosh, we can't even, she's not a villain. So it was so fun. It was so fun to work with the kids because, Hrothgar and I both realized we just don't really get an opportunity to work with the kids on the show because they're often in the schoolhouse or, playing baseball or doing all kinds of things that we don't tend to be a part of. And so that was really delightful. It was so great to be able to actually share some scenes with them and play with them and get to know them a little bit better as well, which was terrific. And yes, the radio show, I must say that was probably the most challenging scene I had to film for season 12 because it was just such, nonsense.
It was a little bit.
Yeah, your script, the words were very flibberty jib and,
goodness. Pascal Hutton was laughing at me because I was trying to get those words out and was like, like stumbling over them. And, anyway, we got there in the end. But it sure felt like a long day for me, getting all those words out, but it was really fun. And I just thought, oh, it's such a good opportunity to just let Florence be cranky and also have to learn something, and her actually secretly, reading the comic books and going, I think maybe secretly she actually really liked them. It's the lady does detest too much, so that was really fun. And so I was really appreciative to show that side of her again.
Yeah, I love what you said about getting to work with the kids because a lot of those kids have been here since the very beginning, but we hadn't seen a lot of them in recent years, starting with the, the COVID protections, and then they're getting older and et cetera. So I feel like we've sacrificed a little bit of time with Florence and Molly this season because we got some focus on the kids. But I'm hoping that as the season still progresses, we have more to come of FloMo.
Yes,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, when you're on a show for 12 seasons, and this is a really large cast, isn't it?
Indeed.
And I
Yes.
think that's one of the secrets to its longevity is having such a big cast. And
Yes.
okay, we're going to focus on this group now. And oh, let's see what's happening with these characters now. And so that means that it truly is an ensemble. We do
Yes.
have our leads which are always that steady presence, but then there's a lot of other supporting cast, and then also our guest stars and day players, people who come in for a couple of episodes. And so the writers do such an extraordinary job of managing all of that and making
Yeah.
sure that they keep all of their wires, uncrossed.
Honestly, all those threads. And but it must be fun to watch as it is for us to watch these kids grow up, but also that young actors coming into their own as they get older and you got to work with them and see them in their new professionalism.
It's terrific. And, the kids on the show are so impressive.
Yes, they certainly are. Well, the whole cast is
Oh,
impressive, but yes, in
they're so
particular.
great. And they're doing school, at the same
Yeah,
time, right? And so
right.
they're juggling a lot of different things. So
That's true.
I have so much respect. And it was really, really fun to get
Were
to share.
did you start this at a young age acting?
I didn't. I
Okay.
started at a young age, just, in community theater and just really
Yes.
enjoying the performance element of it.
Right.
But I didn't start working as a professional until I had gone to acting school and gotten a degree in theater and acting. And so it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I actually started
Got it.
professionally.
Okay. Okay. So jumping forward, we just loved last week the radio play, and especially that Flo got to retain her hat. I mean, that was very important. Oh, yay. Hi.
Character.
Radio play, hi.
Yeah.
So good to see you.
Do
We're talking about Flo's gorgeous hat during the radio play. How much fun was it to come to the rescue for that theater crisis last week?
Yeah, I tweeted about that great hat. Saint Annabelle.
Yeah. Yes, Saint Annabelle. That's
That's
going
right.
way
Oh my
back.
goodness. The hats have had names. I was so happy to wear a hat again. It was so fantastic. And yes, Florence really needed it for her process.
I
really
love that in
see.
the church where she was like, excuse me, can I wear my hat? I couldn't keep a straight face. I was like, yep.
That was so fun. You know what? I love it. I love it when the ladies all get together and solve the problems. It makes
Right,
me
exactly right.
I just love it. Listen, I love the men on this show too. They're awesome, but it's kind of my favorite thing when the women go, huh, there's a problem. That's okay. We can fix it. And they do, So I loved that storyline.
Yeah, no, it was really sweet. The cafe scene where they're all figuring it out. And then, of course, Minnie comes over and does her accent, which is hysterical. So now we just need a theater production that has Australian accents and we're all done.
That would be fantastic. There was a writer on the show a few years ago who said, "Oh my goodness, like you start speaking in your Australian accent and you put your hair down and you are a completely different person."
Yes.
He was like, "What happens if, Flo got, knocked out and then woke up and was just a completely different character, just started speaking with an Australian accent, sort of had a knock to the head or something, or we just completely dressed you differently and introduced you as a different character with an Australian accent." I was like, I am in.
Yes. I think you guys can make this happen. Let's just keep talking about it until,
I like it.
similar
Well,
to Natasha. I think that's hysterical.
So fun when the Hearties are like, oh my God, Loretta's this like sexy glamour puss in real life.
Yes. There's a lot of people that are like, wait, which character is she? Like sometimes they don't recognize you.
It just makes you realize what a wonderful actress she is because
Thank you. Well, that comes up at the Hearties family reunion, in which I will always at least have one person say, when they introduced you, I didn't know who you were. And then I was like,
that's what.
That's funny. That's funny.
I've had a lot of people be like, "You're much prettier in person," and I'm like,
Oh,
Oh, well, yeah.
Compliment. I'm not so sure. Okay, remind me or tell me what Ned had that like anxiety about auditioning because he'd had like a previous problem with a line in a production. What was that again?
yes. So, I mean, we never really said it on camera, but between Hrothgar and myself and the director, we sort of decided that the last time he was in a performance, he totally froze and just sort of like, couldn't
Oh,
the lines and sort of just had, a major case of stage fright. And this was his like, I'm gonna overcome this and prove to myself that I can do it. So that was the little backstory on that.
so fun. Well, we talked to Kristen Lehman, the director, last week, and she told us that it was her idea, that it wasn't originally written into the script for him to serve as the sound effects guy during the radio play. And I mean, the radio play in and of itself was phenomenal. A lot to take in. I mean, I think you have to rewatch it to make sure that you see all those incredible costumes and moments and everything. But can we just have a moment for Hrothgar? Because he's killing it. He's killing it this season between that and that line last week about leap and you shall appear. And he goes, was she a circus performer?
No.
I know, gold.
I know.
Hysterical.
He's a
Takes the
national
moments he's
treasure.
given and just makes them into these
Yeah.
beautiful.
Do you two have a favorite season 12 Hrothgar moment?
Well, I spend quite a bit of time with Hrothgar, which I just, I enjoy him so much, and he steals every scene, that guy. Like he's just so funny and so smart, and he's actually a really dear friend because he's a very kind and open-hearted person. He's
Nice.
just open kind of person. A favorite moment. I mean, I think that probably the radio show was my favorite moment because he and Kristen really worked out all of that behavior, all of the sound effects, the clumping and the kissing and all of that stuff. And it really played. I thought it was really funny and he just went with it. He was like, let's sort of make something that wasn't
good.
in there. Yeah, the inventiveness of that was
Yes.
really collaborative and really fun. And he's just up for it.
Yes.
Every time it's like, okay, well, let's try and make something out of this moment. He's like, great, all right, I'm in.
You don't even have to have a line and he steals it. It's just incredible. Well, you guys have done that plenty of times too. I don't think we'll ever forget Rosemary's going into labor and you scuffling around the main street.
This was my Tom Cruise
These
run.
visions are in our heads,
Yeah.
Yeah, just so cool. Love it.
Yeah, I
Johannah,
have to agree with
did
you. I think the Hrothgar bit in the play. I mean, as you say, the ladies are great, but Hrothgar stole the show. The clomping and the kissing. I mean, it was a collaborative effort, as you say, between he and Kristen, but it was just delightful. Absolutely delightful.
So good.
Before we move on from the theater discussion, I have to ask about the costuming because Pascal shared the red coat, Loretta, that you got to wear. So did she know, like, did she see you for the first time and not know you were wearing it? Or did she know ahead of time? Or how did that
She
play
didn't
out?
know.
Okay.
She didn't know. And it was just hanging in the trailer. And I was like, okay, fabulous. Right. And she was like, that coat, that thing, it just keeps coming back. Right. Because she wore it so much during one of the seasons. She wore it so much because she was hiding her pregnancy.
Yeah.
So Barbara, she keeps all the things.
Yeah. Well, Johannah, you wore an old dress of Elizabeth's, I think, for the play as well, didn't you?
I did. The good
Yeah.
catch, because
Yes.
I did think maybe I haven't been online enough, classic me, but perhaps someone has caught that. But yes, yes, she showed up and I was like, well, this is lovely. And she's like, this is an old one of Elizabeth's. And I was like, I'm not going to fit that. She wore a corset. And it just sort of, we got into it. And I was like, well,
Nice.
Fantastic.
yeah. And so yeah, I was shocked and delighted. And she was delighted because she didn't have to do a darn thing. She was like, great, there we are. Put on a flower crown and off you go. It was super fun. And I think you realize, like, Molly is always, and Florence, we often our necklines are up to here. And it was just like, I think I had a little bit of a, and it was just it's a different look.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
And I think actually what was cute about it was because I'm playing a character who's very young in the actual play, Cecily.
Ah,
But I think it made me look quite youthful, which I think was so smart, right, on Barbara's part, because the high neck stuff is totally appropriate and fine, but it does have a sort of a slightly formal, maybe it makes you look just a little bit more mature, right? So I thought that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
wished I know on someone's phone, I feel like Pascal and I have a cute photo of us together with our, but I don't know where it ended up anyway. But yeah, and
yeah,
that's like,
I'm just picturing you all coming to set and wearing all of Erin's old costume and like
yes,
their faces. Because
yes,
Tira had one too. She had one of
yes,
Elizabeth's old dresses. So
yes,
that had to
exactly.
be
I
a
know.
hoot.
And as you say, Barbara's so great at repurposing things and using them in all these
Yeah.
wonderful ways. She's so creative and dynamic. It's incredible. She's a
amazing.
superstar. Yeah, but
Totally.
I was so disappointed that that was one of the days that we didn't have a professional photographer on set, because I think everybody was
Ah,
so great. Like the women dressed up as gentlemen was so cute. It was just so
I
cute.
loved it.
yes.
Right? I was like, darn, where's obviously we can't have a professional photographer on set every day, and that just happened to be one of the days when they weren't there. But I was like, oh snap.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Luckily, a lot of you took some great behind the
Yeah.
scenes photos. So that's
Oh, yeah.
good. But okay, so our next question, and I feel like before we move on, we never gave Johannah a proper introduction.
Oh,
So I
I
just
was
wanted
off blow drying my hair, if I'm honest.
welcome. We want to applaud for you, Johannah Newmarch.
Hey, great to be here.
Welcome.
Delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
So we do have a Hearty question. April Donahue of Irvine, Kentucky, and Leah Hardwick of St. Charles, Missouri want to know, after all these years, what is your favorite thing about Molly and Florence's friendship? Let's start with Florence. Loretta, would you like to start?
I've talked about this ad nauseum, but when I first read the script for When Calls the Heart, the thing that I loved about it was the relationships between the women, the friendships between these women. I just thought, I have extraordinary female friends in my life, and that sisterhood is such a beautiful part of life. And so I really wanted to be a part of the show because of that, because I wanted to see really uncomplicated, loving, kind, fun, you're the Thelma to my Louise, you're the Lucy to my Ethel, that those really deeply connected female friendships. And so, I love that Florence and Molly are really just ride or die, and that they know each other very well.
Yeah.
To be known is just such a beautiful thing. For Florence to understand, well, I know why Molly is acting that way right now. It's because she's insecure about this, or she's worried about that. For Molly to go, I just know that my best friend would love this dress. I know her. And so I just think, that deep, intimate, emotional, intimate knowing and understanding of each other is really precious and just so joyful. And, the cherry on top of the whipped cream, on top of the icing, on top of the cake is that I met Johannah Newmarch doing this show, and we have become such close friends. And it's just been, just such a joy and a gift, and I'm deeply appreciative of and gaining and enriching friendship from the show as well.
Right back at you, sister. Love. Yeah, I mean, she's just said it all. So it is. No, yeah, okay. I'm gone. Yep, I'm good. Honestly, I can't emphasize everything Loretta said enough, but it's so fun because in real life now, like Loretta and I, I'll show up in the morning, or we'll be on set, and I'll just look at Loretta, and she'll just know from a look on my face, or like she'll just know. She's like, okay, Johannah's not good. She needs to talk, or just that wonderful thing that women have where they just understand each other, like, and we give that to each other, and we've been through so much on this show together, like children, my child going off into university and becoming a young woman, Loretta having a child, and the incredible transformation in one's life that is, and all the global events that we've all been through, and just having each other's backs, and that sisterhood really does make the world go round. And personally for me, and I just love that the show shows that, obviously men are incredibly important too and all that, but it is that deep bond of sisterhood through thick and thin. And I do think that it's really great that Loretta underlined like in my personal female friendships, there isn't a bunch of drama and pettiness. Like it's like life is too much and too intense and too busy for that. We have each other's backs. If we occasionally need to work something out briefly over, we will, but it's not about how I think it's so inaccurate how women are portrayed as, having these petty, female, it's like, no, or competing over men or some nonsense. It's like, sure, of course that's addressed humorously in a few points on When Calls the Heart, because great, but it's not really the meat of who we are, or for my reality, and I would say Loretta's reality either. So obviously humor is important, and, poking fun at each other is endlessly, important in life, and humor is everything, because how are you going to survive life without humor? But at the end of it, it is like, I see you, you see me, I have your back when it matters, and I'm there for you when it matters. And that we, know each other's foibles, but have like a lot of room to just let, like, look, we all have our best qualities and our worst qualities, right? And that we celebrate the worst and kind of just like tease or let the other stuff go, because it's, anyway, it's just very meaningful.
And thinking back to 12 years ago now, like, did it, for the two of you in real life, did that connection happen really quickly, or did it happen over the course of season 1, or was it kind of like immediate, good friends?
Well, I mean, the mines, being in the mines together, it's a pretty bonding experience.
That would do it.
It sure was.
When you have to cover yourself in the same makeup for the
Yeah.
It was so deeply uncomfortable, like physically uncomfortable to just be, but beautifully done. And nobody was complaining. But yeah, no, I agree with you. Getting
you
into
bonded immediately over the
right away.
over
Right away. It was like, okay, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
Yeah. And I think things really got consolidated in season 2.
Yes.
Really, became FloMo, sort of in that season, and then have developed from there. Yeah, but it was early.
Totally.
Yeah, cool.
And it's so, and as I've said so many times, there's no acting required. Like Loretta and I mean, sure, they're characters, but we are FloMo. Like, it's us. And I've said so many times, it's so delightful to get paid to hang out with one of your dear friends and have a great time. Like, it's just,
like, this is my job.
best.
We're very,
Well, we did,
very lucky.
Yeah, we did get a slight hint of discord this season, though, when we saw when Molly complained about Jed not getting business at his fruit stand, and and Florence speaking up. So what should we think of that? Is there more to that? Does Flo approve of Jed? What do we think?
I think Florence likes money. And I think so I think that's where that was coming from. I think the Yosts are actually quite, like astute business people.
Entrepreneurial.
Indeed.
Yes. And so I think that, not in a yucky way, but in a way of like, well, too bad, like we're doing it too. And we have the monopoly on it, and we'll pick something else then. Just make a better business decision.
Exactly.
Then.
If you don't have the vacuum in to pull it off, then it's your problem.
I don't think that it was a personal slight against Jed. It was just like, well, he is sort of competition for the business.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think for Florence, I have said this for many seasons, I really want Molly to find new love. I really do. And so it looks like we're on that trajectory, which is delightful.
Very sweet.
And like a true bestie to be protective from the get-go, and
Sure.
well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that scene, even though it was obviously so brief, was really cute, because Molly's just sort of like, harumph. Well,
Yeah.
And Florence has this moment where she's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I know. And then I was like, hold on a second. No, that's a thing.
Right.
But then you were also kind of like, and don't forget Bridge tonight. So I was like,
yeah.
Would Molly actually forget Bridge? Like, wow, like this could be something, that there's a little discord between
because
them.
over my shoulder I threw up and they kept it, right?
It's so good.
So good.
Really good.
Yeah. And I just think that was actually, I mean, it's a brief moment, but it's such a fun moment, because the fact that we've never discussed Jed, and that she picks up on my little, like, well, harumph, you should be about him, right? And then she's like, wait a minute, like, that's just so cute, right?
It is really.
Yes. And she says something to Ned after, right? Like, oh, who knew? What's going on there?
Rosemary, maybe. Do you say? I think you say it to Rosemary. She walks in. You're having the realization while she walks up to the counter.
No, I didn't know that Molly had a soft spot.
Yeah.
How did I miss this? I need to pay more attention.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Cute.
so good. Well, before we bid you adieu, Loretta, we know you have to get going today, but we do have one more Hearty question. This is kind of a fun what if from Liv Hill of Riverview, Michigan.
Okay.
She says, I love Molly and Flo's friendship so much. If they were to go on a girls' trip,
Ooh.
where would you like them to go? And would you want anyone else to join or just the two ladies?
Oh my
Oh.
goodness. What a great question.
No, I'm feeling
Oh.
road trip. I'm feeling road trip vibes. Yeah.
I'm
Very
feeling
Thelma and Louise.
Yeah.
very Thelma and Louise. Sure, I'm down for the road trip, but I want to go somewhere fancy and have like high tea. You know what I mean? Like I think
Yeah.
Florence is very practical, but I think if you said to her, oh, come to this very fancy and beautiful place with the sandwiches with the crusts cut off and all of that, I think she would quite love it.
You would say, "Can I wear my hat?"
Yes, that's right.
Definitely. Oh,
That's a
that's
lovely
funny.
idea. There's very nice high tea at the Empress. So Molly
Yes,
and
there
Indeed.
Florence,
is.
and even existed around that time. So Molly and
It
Florence
did,
would go
yeah.
to Victoria and have high tea at the Empress.
That would be
Love
delightful.
it. Perfection. Well, Loretta, anything else you want to tease about season 12 coming for Florence before we let you go?
Well, I just think the remaining episodes have so much heart in them. I really do.
Oh, good.
I was saying recently that when I read these final scripts, I really did genuinely cry. I really did genuinely have an emotional reaction. And so I think Hearties are going to love it. And just always remember that the community of Hope Valley has each other's backs. And even when residents of Hope Valley are having problems or having challenges, they're not doing it alone. And
Oh.
so there's a lot of really beautiful moments coming for you. So, and I just, as always, just want to say thank you so much. Thank you to you, Marg and Jeanette, and to all of the administrators and all of the people within the Hearties who do so much work and so much labor. I know it's a labor of love in supporting us and supporting the show. You know, we appreciate you so very much, and we really just hope to keep doing it for another 20 years. You know, I would just love it. Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. It's so lovely to see you, and I appreciate you all.
Beautiful
For
to
Great
see
to
spending
you,
see
time
you.
Loretta.
with
Miss
us.
you, honey.
I know I miss you
Fingers
too.
crossed for 13.
Yes, 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 big time. Thank you so much, and be well. I'll talk to you soon.
See you
Thanks
later.
for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.
Wonderful.
Johannah, like Flo, um, Molly had her own objections to the young people of Hope Valley this season. My goodness, what is it fair to say that Molly is having a little trouble embracing change with these newfangled dances and
Well, I mean, yes, that was clearly something that was happening. I thought that was very funny when she's sitting at the table with Rosemary and she's watching the people in the cafe. You like really kind of get down in a kind of slightly, you know, extreme way.
scandalized?
Yeah, scandalous, exactly. So I just thought that was great comedy and funny because like let's be honest, put yourself back in that time and you would have been like, what is happening? That's a lot, right? And then when I see the young people learning these dances, I'm like, oh, I don't think so. But then as we see, underpinning all of those strong feelings was her own personal negative experience as a young person, and I think that was why, even though the lines were written kind of, stroppily, for lack of a better word, I thought it was really important for Molly to play them with sort of maternal care and concern rather than like Molly's not Florence, not that there's any Florence is delightful. I'm just saying like we're not the same character, right? So
Yeah.
Florence would have played. I think it was really important for me to play the end result. I mean, obviously the audience had no idea why I had such a bee in my bonnet. But I really had to play it like, look, Lee, Rosemary, you don't understand. You'll understand people have concerns. There's valid reasons to these concerns. And then when we're in there with Jada, who's upset, I'm like, honey, you just don't understand. Like, as opposed to, like it was more just maternal was how I felt the character,
Nice.
right? And so
Yeah.
in delivering even lines that sort of felt like they had an exclamation mark at the end of them, it was more just like, sweetheart, you're young, I've been there, like more like that. And so
Right.
I tried to play against it kind of being uptight, even though it seemed that way. I don't know if I was effective in doing that, but that was my aim. So
Yeah, no, I think that makes perfect sense. And especially given Rosaline and the way that she was hurt, I could see her totally emoting for Allie. That's really interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
it was more just kind of like, look, sweetheart, I know you're excited, but this is going to end. It's going to end in tears.
totally. Yes,
And it is challenging because, as you know, no complaints. It's a huge ensemble. Sometimes we only have a couple lines to try and
exactly.
deliver that intent, right? So it's, it's the actors, even though the writing is wonderful, we also have to really understand what we're trying to do with, this half page, or, try and sew it all together in a way that has some sort of integrity from a personal character story view, from a
Right.
horror point of view, right? Yeah, yeah. So.
Yeah, exactly right. Well, I know I was not alone among the cheering to get that beautiful scene on the porch, and I freaked out when you got the twinkle lights because I was like, everyone's had their candles, their lanterns, and we get some twinkle lights
Oh
for
goodness.
Molly. It was
This is
so
an
gorgeous.
great. Thank you so much. And we need to give a huge shout out to Andrew Crippen for that because, as is so often the case, that was a very long day, and that scene had been scheduled because it was a night scene for the end of the day. And by the time we got there, it was probably, I think it was a Friday, and I think it was 2 or 3 in the morning.
Oh,
But I walked, and I hadn't even seen it because I was somewhere else, and then they walked me out, and I'm like,
beautiful.
this is gorgeous and so romantic and so flattering, and just the
So,
ambiance was created. It was its own character, and we just
yes.
and then obviously Daniel and I had to just sort of like go the direction it was already leading. And then Elise is such a consummate director, and so she makes such precise choices. And so it really was just a wonderful team effort. Daniel and I bringing what we brought. Andrew creating this incredible atmosphere, and then Elise directing it so attentively to have those lovely, tender, slightly, and how beautiful is it to have a second chance at love. And how many people do we all have in our communities, in our families, or us ourselves, who for whatever reason had to had whether a partner's passed away, or divorce or whatever, who's looking for love again, right? And I think just it can all of everybody, whether they've experienced or not, has someone they're either rooting for in that way, or they want it for themselves. And so I think it just has additional poignancy, right? And just that,
Totally.
and Daniel's his own man and Molly's her own woman, but in that moment they were vulnerable and they were sweet and they were shy, and it was just so lovely and so fun to play.
Yeah, I loved the vulnerability of it. And we see the trope a lot of, on Hallmark of connecting with a high school sweetheart that never was. But this was a healing of a young person, of a high school wrong. And there was just something very dear about the idea of these adults
Right.
being able to heal that for each other in that moment. It was really
You for
beautiful.
seeing that. It was so fun to play, and it means a lot to me that what we were trying to communicate landed. So
Oh, I think it absolutely did. And I loved Daniel in that scene as well. I thought he did a great job, and he was just so awkward but sweet. And it just was, yeah, it just was lovely. There was a beautiful dress, but remind me of it too.
yes, it was sort of like I want to say a Prussian blue,
Yes,
yeah. And it
great
was
color on you.
yeah, thank you so much. And Barbara, she shows up with these little like I don't know where she finds them. She sources things from the most extraordinary, unexpected places. But what was probably notable was it's the only time we've seen Molly in a slightly more 1920s silhouette. So it was a bit of a drop waist. And I was a little concerned because I was like, my waist is one of the things I choose to emphasize because like we all play to our strengths fashion wise,
Right.
right? And
Yes.
I was like, Barbara, are you sure I can pull this off? She was like, don't be silly, it looks great. So it was really fun for Molly to have a little bit more of a modern silhouette.
Nice. She stepped into that moment.
Exactly. So that was lovely. And Barbara's amazing. So I hope that I'm sure it's now in Molly's closet. Hopefully that dress will make another appearance. So
Let's do it. So is this relationship a go? Are we going to see more with Jed?
well, yeah, I mean, yeah, not to give too much away, but there definitely is a few more lovely moments before the season is over.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
good.
I would say it's looking that way.
I
Yeah.
love it
Yeah,
that
and one of the things
he's
I love about Daniel is, and you've probably already seen this, even though he plays, prickly very well, he's a fantastic comedic actor. And so
Oh,
there's a couple really cute moments, like just one in particular that's coming. It's just a small moment between him and Molly that's so funny and so cute. And I think you'll remember, and it's kind of adjacent to that funny scene where he's overhearing Bill and Rosemary talk about the coin, and he's sipping a beer and kind of skulks away. Like just
Yeah.
those little, like just those little comedic beats that Daniel, like he's really good at those. And so it's just fun for him to be able to do a little bit more of that. One of those is coming. A good one of those is coming.
Oh, good. And that interrogation scene with him is really funny
Right?
too. Really,
Oh,
so funny.
I
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
He's just sitting there being like, what is happening?
Yeah,
I
they're so
just-
overboard.
For me, I just love that the two of them have been around forever and have both existed in this town forever. And there wasn't this huge, like, we didn't see a huge conversation between them. It was just like all of a sudden there was this naturalness between the two of you that was like, oh, hey, like this is more than what it's been. And it was just this subtle romantic beats. And yeah, it was beautiful.
Thank
It
you.
really
I'm
was.
so glad. And it was sort of nice how it kind of started with Molly kind of noticing his lack of business and being kind of like,
Yeah.
maternal and friendly and like, give it some time, you'll be okay. And then maybe Jed kind of being like, well, Molly just talked to me. She's kind of cute. You know what I mean? Right?
Mhm.
Like, and how then he was all kind of like, oh, she's upset about something. So yes, I'm gonna be upset about it. And then you probably caught where in the town hall where he says, and Molly and I can chaperone together. And I kind of look at him like, oh, okay,
Like,
that's
oh, we
Love
can?
it.
an interesting idea. So it was funny because, even though it wasn't really, there wasn't a lot of dialogue about it in the script, the directors and the actors found lovely little ways to kind of plant tiny seeds that I'm sure the audience caught on to some of those where it's kind of like, okay, sure, right?
They noticed each other all of a
Yeah.
sudden.
And
it
I'm
was,
so glad, Jeanette, that you picked up on those and that they landed for you. I was hoping that it wouldn't seem like too big a kind of an all of a sudden like why are they talking to each other like anyway. Yeah,
that's good.
One of my favorite moments from last week was Molly doing the reveal of the sickies with the dramatic pullback of the curtains. So funny. And we talked to Kristen about what a difficult scene that was to film. Talk to us about that. It was hysterical.
oh, that's delightful. I'm so glad you picked up on that
It totally worked.
did feel like, sometimes like an English farce, like on stage or something, like almost like a theater production. And Kristen was so cute about it. She kept apologizing because the curtains, it seems, well, obviously, because we did it, she worked hard to make it perfect. It ended up working quite well, but it was like there's so many technical things about like you have to do it, you have to hold the curtain in a particular place, you have to pull it on this line, it can't be between lines, and the curtain can't be swaying before you reveal. Like there's just so many technical things, right, that go into something like that. And she directed it so beautifully. And there's like 10 of us there, and it's this small space with a camera and a crew, and you're trying to do the curtains and the thing and the. Thank you for noticing. It was really fun and such a cute scene. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the guys in their bathing suits and the shivering and the whole thing, it would have been easy to miss it, but we didn't miss it at all. It was darling. It was just, it was really cute. Yeah, loved it.
Well, and there was a bit of like flipping from one camera angle. I mean, like the back and forth. So in that narrow space, that had to be quite the dance for.
And you really had to know what you were doing, because I don't know if you guys understand much about filmmaking, but there's this thing called crossing the axis that you can't really do. Like you have to film everything kind of from one side, otherwise in the edit, it flips over and it confuses the viewer, right?
Oh,
And so there's so many technical challenges that being a director is a whole incredible challenge, and the people on our show do it so incredibly well, and they make it look effortless.
Did you
get to do any more of that this year? I know last year you did some work. Was it with Elise last year that you did?
My director shadowed her. Yes,
was it 2 years ago or last year? I can't remember, but
goodness, it was season 11.
Okay, season 11. Yeah.
Wait. Oh, yes, 11. Yes. It all blends all in my sense of time completely.
It's a wonderful problem.
You're right. 11. Yes, it was 11, and I learned so much. And she's so good at what she does.
Yeah.
Just all of the incredible planning, because on our show directors have to show up very clear what they're doing. It's a lot of casts, it's a lot of scenes. We shoot quickly, so you have to be very, very prepared. And Elise is very masterful at that. And she, and they bring all of their experience over all the years, all the things she's done on film sets. And she's also really cool in that she said every few years she does an acting class just for her to remember.
Oh wow.
Yeah, just for her to remember what it's like to be an actor, and I was like, God bless you. Like, that's just so.
Yeah.
She's amazing at the technical, and totally unflappable, because chaos happens on films. Of course, the week we were there, it was like lightning. Nothing shuts a film set down faster than lightning because you literally have to shut everything down immediately for safety reasons, and you can't explode incredibly expensive equipment. And then we had monsoons, and she was just completely, how do we fix this? What are we doing? Like, just completely unflappable. And I just thought that was so incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, you're steering a big ship, so great if you're just unfazed. She was just always looking for what the solution was, how to get through it, how to get her day. She always no matter what was happening, she made her day, on time and on budget. Just incredible, super inspiring. And I mean, I've always appreciated directors, but I got a whole new insight into what that takes to do well.
So cool.
Such a
And I
talented
didn't do
team.
it this year. Unfortunately, there was just I was in the middle of building a little house, and when I was not shooting, I had to jump on a ferry and go do that. And anyway, but I'd love to do it
To
again.
happen. Well, we have another Hardy question. Sarah Feely of Newtown, Pennsylvania wants to know, what is something that you never expected your character to do or feel, be it in season 12 or any other season? So maybe something in a script that surprised you about Molly, or?
Oh, I did think it was funny, although not out of character. It just was a new thing for Molly when she took it personally in Elizabeth's book that she thought Elizabeth was talking about her. I did think that was funny, right? Like,
Hysterical.
right? Like, we all have those aspects of ourselves that maybe we're not entirely proud of, that are like, petty, or, and as it turns out, it was completely not about her at all, right? But like, and I think a lot of people, artists, are sensitive people. And so I, in my own life, have definitely done that, where someone will have said some innocuous thing and I'll spend weeks ruminating on it, thinking, being convinced it was about me, only to find out it had nothing to do with me. Do you know what I mean? I mean, so Molly went through that, and as a human and as a person portraying that character, I did not expect that, and I thought it was a delightful scene.
Another one of the million ways that the viewers can find something to relate to from the women of Oak Valley. It's so relatable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looking ahead now, we're getting towards the end of the season here, and episode 9, Allie and Oliver get tangled up somehow with the Garrison gang, and we see that Molly's eagle eye in town comes into play. What can you tell us about the adventures ahead in Hope Valley for these last episodes, and what do we got coming for Molly?
Right. Well, yeah. Molly, you remember that brief but meaningful scene where Molly is, happens to be in the mercantile shopping on the shelves, and, sort of smiles at the stranger on the phone, and he's like, go away, stop eavesdropping. And of course, which makes her go like, whoa, what are you talking about? A, you're rude, and B, what are you talking about? So clearly she figures her spider senses tell her something's going on there. And then, sort of what that portends sort of comes into play, as you've seen in the trailer. I'm not saying anything that isn't already out there. Where Oliver's like, you're the guy on the wanted poster, and the fellow in the trailer says you got that right. So clearly some unsavory characters, potentially threatening unsavory characters, show up. And then again in the trailer, so nothing that's not already known. They're like, where's Allie and Oliver? And I say, well, I saw them talking to your rude guest. So clearly that's all connected. So yeah, it gets it's very exciting, and a little bit stressful, but yeah, that's all happening. And then I mean, that's Molly's main thing in that episode, is sort of the connecting pieces between that. And then I can't believe also it's already 9. How did that happen? What time?
Yeah.
Like I keep thinking like, oh, we're on episode 6. No,
6, right? Exactly right.
Right. My sense of time. So yes, as Loretta says, there's some very heartfelt community vibes that happen, which are really lovely. There's there's some beautiful stuff with the Canfields coming. Yeah, some very tender, heartfelt, and Loretta says, as did I. We all brushed a few tears aside when we were reading some of the final episodes. So yeah, I don't want to give any teasers about a storyline that I don't think anybody knows about yet, but there's some very heartfelt, very tender, harrowing but tender stuff coming. So yeah, and then for Molly, as I said, there's just a few more little seeds planted with the Jed stuff. So that's, this is really sweet, and hopefully we can explore more of that next season.
Very, very fun. Well, thank you for all of the time that you lavish on the Hearties. We love tweeting with you every week, and it's so much fun. Are there any other creative projects we should be looking for? We always love seeing you in movies and other kinds of things. Anything coming up that we should be looking for?
Thank you so much. Well, funny you should ask. I've actually got a script in development that I'm hoping to do with I won't say the name of the person yet, but with another cast member on One Calls the Heart. We've been kind of workshopping.
Hey.
We've been workshopping a script together, and we're just kind of in the process of beginning to shop that around. So we would hope to make that perhaps after we shoot, episode season 13. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. I've got that, and then another project that's a script that's in development for me to do that's set in Ireland. So we'll fingers crossed that those.
Oh,
So that would be a dream come true. So yeah, I've
bring
got
on that Irish accent. That would be fun. I
yeah,
love
I would
it.
be the American in Ireland, but I would be surrounded
Okay. All
on
right. We'll allow that.
some Irishmen. So hopefully, yeah, we would love to do
Too
that.
fun.
Yeah,
Too fun.
I've got some really fun projects in development. So I really hope that it all comes together. So
Well, we loved talking to Melissa Gilbert earlier this season, and she was saying that they had kind of gone along with her when she had an idea that her character was a bit Irish. So I was like, "Oh, let's bring this Molly, and Georgie, together. This would be cool on their Irishness because you had that initial Irish,
yes.
feeling in the pilot and all that stuff."
Sure.
Well,
Thank you for mentioning that. I didn't know
yeah,
that. We'll have to
yeah.
discuss that with her.
Yeah, discuss if there's a 13. Well, that's a very good thing. One of the, of course, your panel was so much fun at the Hearties family reunion, but just personally, it was so cool. When I turned and I introduced Doran Bell to do that surprise song, to see you all like clustered in the back of the room to support him. Thank you. It was just such a moment of feeling like his Vancouver support team was there for him.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for noticing that. We stuck around specifically to see him sing because I had never had the pleasure of seeing, I know he's very talented. For whatever reason, whenever he was performing, I was out of town or shooting or whatever. So I'd actually wanted to see him do that for years. So it was just wonderful. We kind of had some lunch together to kill some time. And then, yeah, we just wanted him to be like, we're here for you. We're cheering you on. And, he did such a beautiful, and his personal story was so heartfelt. His performance was so beautiful. And, Doran's just a lovely man.
He is. I know. I don't know how we keep getting it's clear that Vancouver's just a special community of talent, and you've been a part of that for a long time. So it's really amazing. How all these friendships form and stuff. It's cool.
And I've said that many times. As you all know, being an actor is a very challenging thing to do as a choice for your career. It's completely irrational and bonkers in many ways, but thankfully enough crazy humans decide to do that so that we can have entertainment.
Yes.
Honestly, and I think very much like Hope Valley, through the highs and lows of it all, many of my colleagues would say the same, that one of the reasons I hung in there over all the years is because the Vancouver community really is special.
It is.
It's just a wonderful group of humans. And, when you think about it, we spend a lot of our life with the people we work with. And whenever I was, during the highs, they would celebrate me, and during the lows, they'd have your back, and one of the reasons I'm still an actor, I'd say actually the main reason I love the work, but more than anything, I love the people I get to do it with. And I really value them, and it's hard to be, it's a tough world out there, and it's really sometimes to choose a vulnerable creative path, and and to be vulnerable and open in a world that can give you lots of reasons not to be. And then when you just have a collection of people who are like, I see you, I get it, I know the struggles, and the highs are so sweet and the lows are so challenging that I think that our actors are very cognizant of really trying to be there for each other, because it is a really tough. You spend a lot of time getting rejected, and a lot of time unemployed, and a lot of time doing odd jobs to pay the bills, so you can keep doing this thing that you love, that you hope will pay off one day. And so yeah, it's just really special to have a group of fellow creatives who help each other out.
Yeah, I think of course we're keen on 13 for so many reasons, but one of the reasons is to continue to be that engine for employment for all these amazing talents in Vancouver that just come in for a short time with us and that are so beautifully enveloped by our cast, and bring you energy, and it's just cool. It's cool.
Totally.
Well,
thank you.
How can we thank you enough? It's been so much fun to get to talk to you this afternoon. And thank you, Hearties. We just love this incredible show. We love that it's going to be on for how many more? Probably this will come out after 9. So then 3 more episodes, 10, 11, 12. Every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern and 8 o'clock Central on the Hallmark Channel. We'll be on with you, Joe, on X with the hashtag Hearties. Please let us know what you think of Flo and Molly's incredible moments this season. We'd love to hear your comments. So hit subscribe on YouTube and on our podcast channels, and we'll see you again next time on Heart to Hearties.
Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you. Thank you. Love you
Welcome.
guys.